Okay, so on to study skills, HE study skills, to the unit. This is a double credit unit, so it's 6, but we're only looking at one particular part of it today, which is specifically to use a plan to write a well-structured word processed essay. In this video, we're looking specifically at essay writing rather than report writing, which we can look at elsewhere. So what I'm hoping to go through with you today is 3 specific areas. To look at the brief and in particular the task as laid out, and then go on to defining some key terms when it comes to understanding essay writing and essay planning technique. I will then pause before going forward and set a brief quiz on that information just to make sure it's going in. Okay, so to start with, looking at the brief, it asks you to do 4 things. The first is a detailed plan for an academic essay from any of your academic subjects. So, like we have done elsewhere, what I would like you to do is to fit this study skills element around what you're already doing. So pick an essay from another academic area. Plan and then draft. The draft has to include all the elements in the plan. The draft should not include elements not included in the plan. The draft should be a draft based on the plan, if you can follow that. From the draft, and it may require more than one draft, you need to demonstrate proofreading for SPAG. So demonstrating you can find spelling, typos, grammatical mistakes and redo, but also cohesion, meaning looking at the essay for flow, sense, whether it meets the argument or the question set. Okay, so then to produce a well-structured word process essay based on this plan. So again, you can see the process going through. Once the process is complete, I would like you independently to evaluate your own performance. That is, what do you think worked well? What worked well with the planning? What was unnecessary? And what did you find particularly useful? Then reference your tutor's feedback. So your subject tutor's feedback on this individual piece of work. Combine the 2 together and write out an action plan, say of 5 points of what you would do the next time you have an assignment, how you would approach it differently from this time. What would you need to do? Okay, now on to the definitions, bear with me. So first of all, if we take the difference between analysis and evaluation, in fact, I'll add another term, which is description. If you describe something in this sense, you are looking at the surface features or no element of depth, or you may be describing what is happening in a story-like or narrative way. That would be description. Description is an element of level 3 assessment, but compared to level 2, which is your GCSEs, there should be far less descriptive elements to the work you produce. Analysis means breaking down, going into smaller parts. And evaluation is to compare and to contrast, that is to put similarities together and highlight differences in order to come to a substantiated judgment. So if I can example, you may describe this lesson or a lesson you have with me by describing the surface features. The teacher is standing at the front, the teacher is writing on a smart board, and so on and so forth. An analysis of the same lesson would go past those surface features and perhaps explain why the teacher is operating and doing the things he'll do to break it down. And evaluation would be comparison and contrast. So if you were to compare me to a lesson with Linda or a lesson with Lola, you would talk about the features, you talk about how the lessons run similarly, and you would make a contrast to the differences between them, and then come to a judgment as to which ones are better or worse for whatever reasons, and that would bring forward. So if I could put this in a straightforward sense, when you're writing your essays, you may meet the unit criteria in terms of this meeting the subject needed to be discussed, but in order to gain higher grades than pass, you need to demonstrate a level of analysis and evaluation going past the surface features, be able to be adept in comparing and contrasting, demonstrating deeper understanding and cognitive skills by doing that. So that when it comes to grading, when it comes to an essay, you'll gain greater marks, you're more likely to get a higher grade with analysis dominating and evaluation dominating the text rather than description and narrative. Okay, so what we're going to talk about now is how you organize your work to ensure that you have the analytical and evaluative elements. And the first things you need to do before too far down the line when you're looking at your essay question is a bit of question analysis. Highlight, underline the key words and phrases in the question. If you like, rejiggle the words in your head, paraphrase it, make sure you understand what it's asking you to do, because although it seems rather an obvious thing to state, if you don't answer the question as the question is set out, you're unable to access the marks. As a previous A-level examiner, I would say this was the most common error of people under exams pressure and stress. So question analysis is very important. Your introduction should introduce. Well, it seems like an obvious thing to say, but what you should say is what you are going to do in the order in which you're going to do it. At the start of this video, I went through 3 things we would do and why contained within the video. In the same way, if you write in your introduction what you are doing, why you are doing it, and then support that, laying out how you are going to approach what you are tackling by saying you're going to do this and this because of this, and then you're going to do that because of that, and then you can. So it explains, it contextualizes, it helps you understand as you read through the essay what's going on. The introduction should also demonstrate that you understand what the question is asking you to do, preferably referring to some of the phraseology contained within the question, particularly the key phraseology which you have previously underlined. So in effect, you need to make a claim or simple answer to the question put in front of you. That claim or argument should run through the rest of work. You should, if you follow the design we're going to go through, keep that argument central to what you're saying from the top to the bottom of your essay. Essay writing is like a stick of rock, in that, like the name of the place that you're going to written on the stick of rock, going all the way through to the bottom of the end, your claim or argument should be relevant and pull through to the whole of your essay. The conclusion is the mirror image of the introduction. It is at the end of your essay, and what you say in conclusion, you sum up what you have said and why, and show again how these points have met your key claim or argument. The main body of text is made up of paragraphs. So typically in a 750 or 1,000 word piece, you'll probably not be deploying more than, I don't know, 3, 4 paragraphs. So each paragraph, and what a paragraph is a topic. It is a single thought or idea. That by definition is what a paragraph is. So that when you think of a paragraph, it should only contain one thought. Should you start talking about 2 things and you're writing a paragraph, think about splitting your paragraph into 2. The paragraph become the blocks of the essay. There is no minimum or maximum length. It is about coherence and making something short enough, the point short enough so it's understood. I would suggest if your point is going on too long, you would consider splitting the point into 2 elements. So typically maybe half a page, no more, I would suggest would be a good length for your paragraph. Now, paragraph is made up into 3 parts. That's a topic sentence, supporting sentence, and sometimes a concluding sentence. Topic sentence introduces the topic of that paragraph. It introduces what you're going to say in the paragraph. It also links to your argument and the question. The supporting sentences follow that topic sentence and substantiate, support with facts, figures, etc., what is said. I haven't put it here because it's not an obligatory thing and I didn't want to indicate it, but then you could, but that's the analysis is the support, it's the description, it's the support of the main point made at the top. The evaluative point would then follow that, linking to other topics or areas within the essay or pulling within the framework of that paragraph, which is an analysis looking at different points. So each essay, and I'll give you a spider diagram later, should be planned to have an intro, evidence, support for that analysis, evaluation, and a link to the argument. The other thing to say is obviously that proofreading and editing are very important, not only for SPAG, I think as I said earlier, but something I'm calling here sequence or flow. You may decide that if you're arguing a point that you're going to spend 2 paragraphs arguing for the point and 1 paragraph arguing against. You certainly want to consider how you are linking it together and how the paragraphs fit together in the front. So that's all I was going to say on this part. Please see the quiz attached. Thank you.